House of Witchcraft. You thought it was gonna be Miss Taren, but no, 'tis I, Dana. Tonight, we'll be brewing some magic. Why don't you come on in and join us?
Hello, hello. Welcome to the House of Witchcraft. I'm so happy y'all are joining me here today. This is a really great topic that I'm so excited that I was able to get an actual real life Christian witch. I went out in the wild. I hunted her down. I brought her back. No. This is Derrie from You Have the Rainbow Witches Colorful Cottage YouTube channel. Here within the house for us, we are a very diversified group of witches because we welcome everybody. We get the fact that there's a lot of different flavors of witches on the Crossroads.
Yeah.
And that is something I don't think a lot of new folks understand, is that we have a very strong Christian witch population.
Mm-hmm.
We have a strong goddess population. We have a very strong Oba, African, also Latin America. We have brujitas. We have all sorts of witchy flavors. And sometimes I think people just look in the pagan box only.
Right.
And not realize, honey, witches are worldwide.
Right.
Come in all flavors, you know.
Because a lot of people, especially when I was starting with YouTube, pagan was the only way you knew what a witch. And I'm like, but I'm not a pagan witch. I thought I was for a long time. And then I was like, no, I'm not. I can't justify putting myself in that box when that's not who I am.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't put me in a box. I'm no.
I think we're as we all are speaking out more, you know, and people are learning better, and learning that the magic community is very diverse. For me, coming from the South, coming from the Low Country area of South Carolina, you know, and the hoodoo and voodoo, but within hoodoo culture, we deal a lot with the Christian mystics and the Christian witches.
Yeah.
All right, we deal with the Conjuring, the root women that are at church every Sunday morning, every night. All right, and they will tell you they don't do magic.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was exposed to it. And then as I started like getting out in the big world, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, why are they telling the you know, why are you beating up on that poor little Christian witch? Well, I think for you as a Christian witch, you've had to deal with a little bit of that. Like, who did you have a person, or was there a book? Was there like a moment where your brain clicked and you were like, no, I know who I am?
My grandmother, I did not know my grandmother, my granny bird. I did not know she was a witch until about 10 years after she passed. And because she was born in a little tiny southern Kentucky town, and her parents had I wouldn't call them slaves, but they had black help. And my grandmother was raised with a mammy. And I think that was a sore spot. That was kind of a thing of shame with my grandmother's, because she learned some hoodoo. As I said to you the other day, I grew up in my house with the puppet chair, and I was like, when you said that yesterday on your video, and I was like, oh my God, we had one of those. We had this rocking chair on my front porch that nobody ever sat in.
Papa Grace.
But we never questioned it either.
Yeah.
Yes. We never questioned that. Okay, Granny says no, we don't do it. Okay. You know, but some of the things that I look back on, and, you know, I was free to be me when I was a kid. I was allowed to go out and roll in the dirt and make the mud pies and do the potions and climb the trees and, you know, do all that stuff. But I look back on some of the lessons, because my grandmother was a drama professor. She was a costume designer. She was a drama professor. She worked at MGM. You know, so for her to be that, I was like, wow. Okay, just leave it there. But, now I look back and I'm like, I just kind of want to look at her and go, Granny, why didn't you ever tell me? But she was pushing me towards this path my whole life. So when I realized that, I was like, okay, there's the moment. And it's okay to believe in God, and it's okay to worship in a house of worship and still be a witch. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. And I was like, okay, all right. And I do. I go to church. I go to a Methodist church every Sunday.
And then now I know in the Bible, because I can pull out a list of verses in the Bible that will say that doing magic is
no. Oh yeah.
And I can also pull out a list of verses that says that doing magic is bad.
Yeah.
How do you make peace with those two different lists?
Honestly, I don't, for me personally, not for every Christian, which I don't put a lot of faith in the Bible. Other than like the Psalms and things, I don't use the Bible a lot because it was written by man. It has been transcribed and transdone so many different times. I don't know what is fact and what is fiction anymore. I can't. Right. I'm just like, I don't put a lot of faith in what that book has to say.
There are, yes, because we deal with some of the verses where, it says suffer a witch not to live.
Right.
Is
right.
really the actually, as it was written in Greek, is suffer a poisoner not to live.
Right.
And which we can all agree on, that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ought not poison people.
Right.
Later on, with the King James's version of the Bible, it says King James's version.
Right.
It tells you it's his version.
Right. But I'm blessed right now to have an amazing pastor in my church who has come to my home, whereas previous pastors that we've had have not been willing to come to my home. My husband is a Christian, but we are a blended family, and he's willing to learn and to grow. My daughter, our 24-year-old daughter, is also a witch, so he had a problem with that when she was younger, but it was that, he had an issue with her having an altar in her room. He's like, that's devil worship. And I said, Steve, whoa. I said, what does she have on her altar? He said, she's got incense, flowers, and candles. I said, what is on the altar at church? And he shut up. He shut up real quick because I was like, there you go. But the pastor we have now has come to my home. He's seen my witchy room. He's done, he's gone wildcrafting with me. He's meditated with me. And when I was called, and I've been called out in the middle of a sermon from parishioners in our church. And he has stopped the sermon and brought me down and said, you know what? I've been to this woman's home. Her space is colorful. It's beautiful. It's love. There's so much love in this house.
Right.
And, but he like, Derrie has a beautiful, and I love the way he said, I have a beautiful duality of face.
That's sweet. I like that.
I love that. And the fact that came from a pastor of a Methodist church, I'm like, okay, we're good.
See, and that's where, when I came across your channel, I was like, ooh, here's another Crossroads witch. She stands in many different worlds at once. No wonder I like her. And understanding that all of those paths are valid and that you don't have to choose.
Yeah.
I think the biggest myth is that you have to choose. And you don't have to. And
you have to choose. You have to have a title. You have to announce it. And I'm like, no, I did all that. I've been there, done that. That didn't work for me. I literally am a little tiny housewife in a podunk one stoplight town who loves color and magic and herbs and crystals, and that's me. There you go.
That's your truth. I talk to a lot of folks about, be your authentic self, find your authentic voice.
Yeah.
And that is a perfect example of it, is you have found.
But it took me a long time to get here. It took me a long time to get here.
So,
because I had to shed the fact of what other people thought.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask you. For the young Christian witches out there, what is your advice to them? What do you have? What do you say to them?
It's okay. It's okay not to know. It's okay. If you want to read the Bible, read the Bible. If you want to, if you want to come talk to me and sit by me and we'll have a conversation. But, we're all here to learn. We're all here to grow. As I said, I go to church. A lot of Christian witches I know do not go to church because they don't want to hear the hypocrisy. But, my advice is,
I think
my personal thing is,
I think a lot of the witches would go to your church.
I feel
because you got a
closest
good
to
pastor.
God. Yeah. Yeah. I feel closest to God when I'm out in nature. I don't get the messages from God sitting in a pew listening to the sermon. I get my messages from God when I'm meditating in nature, when I'm wildcrafting, when I'm just one-on-one in nature, when I'm out playing with my kids in the yard, and that's when I get I'm like, okay, all right. That's when I hear the voice of God, is when I'm out doing my thing, and when he can see that I'm doing my thing and I'm at my happiest. That's when I get my messages.
I think that's really good advice for a lot of the young witches, Christian witches out there who are struggling. And I was, the opportunity to have you come here on the House of Witchcraft, because we do have Christian witches within our group. Like I said, we're very diverse.
Yeah.
And I just want other folks to know, other young witches to know that you're not alone. What you're thinking isn't strange or wrong. You're not doing it the wrong way.
There is no right or wrong way. That's the thing, is there is no right or wrong way. It's what feels good in here. It's right here.
That is the biggest thing. I hope all the witches that are watching this take away from listening to Derrie and I talk. It's about finding your path, your way, and what works for you and your family. We can inspire, encourage, and empower each other, but ultimately you have to do you, boo. You gotta find your happiness, and whatever your happiness is, you gotta honor it.
Yeah.
I
think one of the biggest questions that I've gotten is, how can you worship the Morrigan and worship God at the same time? And I said, for me, it's balance. I'm a Libra. I have to have that balance. And those two, believe it or not, for me, they work really well together.
And for me, I'm like, divinities, all of that, and then some.
Right.
They're all part of the divine. It's which ones you're resonating with, which ones speak to you.
Right.
We don't, it's not for me to understand your magic, it's for me to respect that you're doing magic. And that's why there's a lot of folks, we get all judgy on each other when we ought not to. Yeah. Well, I'm going to shut this down because we will talk for quite a while, and I want to keep this video. So folks are like, damn, Taren, Derrie, y'all just talk and talk.
Yes, we do.
And I hope that you witches out there found some wisdom in our words, found some encouragement and some empowerment, because ultimately that's what these videos are about. All right, witches, I hope you have as bright as a blessed day as I'm having. And it never changes. It's always the same. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe and Ababo.